Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to today's lecture, Optimizing Brain Health Across the Lifecourse. We are honored to have with us Mrs. Diana Estevez from the World Health Organization, who will share valuable insights into the key factors influencing brain health throughout life. Diana Estevez holds a degree in nutrition from the University of São Paulo and a master in applied human nutrition from USP also in 2015. In 2015, she was selected to participate in the first multidisciplinary training program on global nutrition policies by the World Health Organization. And since then, she has been working in different areas such as nutrition, policy development, public health, guideline development, and global health statistics. She is currently a technical officer working health systems, strengthening country capacity building, impactful strategies against non-chronic disease, and much more. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Diana.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everybody who are watching us online. And thank you to Dr. Torres for the kind invitation today to talk about this very fascinating topic that we are going to learn more today. I will base this talk in WHO's position paper that was published in 2022. And I want to thank my colleagues Catherine Seher, Gergana Manolova, and Deborah Kester, who were instrumental to producing these documents and coordinating, and they are coordinating currently this work at WHO. I also want to highlight that my presentation today does not represent WHO's views. It's my personal, is in my personal capacity that I have come here today, and we are going to start and jump into this fascinating topic, as I mentioned. So I would like to know, what do you think when you listen to the words brain health? What is brain health? You think about it. What have you heard? What comes to your mind when you think about brain health? Well, brain health is the state of brain functioning across cognitive, sensory, social, emotional, behavioral, and motor domains, allowing persons to realize their full potential over the life course. Brain health is a result of complex, continuous interactions between a person's genetics and the environment and the circumstances where they live. Brain health is expressed in the ability to grow and build strong neuronal connections, as well as to adapt, repair, and compensate over time in ways that allows us to feel, move, sense, think, and interact with the world around us. The brain also directs and affects body's core involuntary functions, including cardiorespiratory, endocrine, and immunological functions. Optimizing brain health. What is optimizing? We are thinking, what comes to your mind when you think about optimization? So optimizing brain health will be a strategy or methods to improve mental and physical health. Optimization of brain health will create a positive social and economic impact, not only in the individual's life, but also for the society and health as advance. And like that, we think, or the perspective of this talk is about the life course. So we will think about optimizing brain health throughout the life course. I want to start this slide talking about the different stages of brain development, and you will see that we are showing here a very simple graph in which we talk about neuroplasticity. That is really, really important and in the biggest development during the perinatal period and the infancy and early childhood. We will have the pruning stage that is shown in yellow, and that it's more emphatic during the adolescence times because you are going to cut some of the, or cut the paths of connections of your neurons in this development, and then early adulthood and the midlife and older age, when we still have plasticity, still have some pruning, but we start losing some of the neuronal connections as well. So we are showing here, as I said, different stages of the brain development, and there are many risk and protective factors that impact mental health. For example, social adversities, air pollution, physical activity, that are likely mediated through changes in brain structure and their function. Extending the definition of brain health beyond the conception of disease or the absence of disease, we would like to focus more in brain structure and cognitive, sensory, emotional, social, behavioral, and motor function of the brain. This means that we want to understand the brain on a lifelong continuum. Multiple interconnected determinants can affect brain functioning and structure, from preconception to the end of life. These determinants influence the way our brains develop, adapt, and respond to stress and adversity to different degrees across the stages of neurodevelopment. Early childhood represents the highest plasticity and thus extraordinary potential for interventions. Adolescence is a time for great opportunities. The process of pruning means that the brain undergoes dramatic changes with active remodeling of neuronal circuits, and that were established early in life. In fact, during the adolescence process, leading to increasing efficient functioning within and across brain networks, peak in the context of increased autonomy and independence. The second decade of life represents an important opportunity to respond to a person's circumstances, especially in relation to cognitive and social emotional functioning, as well as habits and health behaviors. Multiple family, cultural, societal, economic, and environmental factors can influence adolescence development, school context, socialization, and the feeling of belonging that is so important at this stage of life, social and gender norms, and community cohesion, among other factors. Adulthood presents additional opportunities as the brain continues to adapt in response to our circumstances. We take decisions, we speak different languages, we continue learning at the time that our brain is plastic and dynamic. At the older age, the brain loses neuronal connections and the neuroplasticity is reduced. At this stage, it is important to maintain a routine that connects our minds to our bodies and our bodies to the community. Determinants of healthy aging that are also relevant for brain health include levels of education, healthy lifestyles, social connection, and enabling environments. Also, cognitive activity and metabolic factors, including weight, blood pressure, cholesterol, and insulin sensitivity, will influence the healthy aging of the brain. By the way, talking about cognitive activity, do you know why the boy do his homework on the plane? Because he wanted to have a higher education. So this is just a joke. For those who were not paying attention, I have another one. The flight attendant shouts in the plane, "We have an emergency. Is there a doctor in the plane?" "I am a doctor, you know, but not that kind of doctor." And the flight attendant says, "Well, listen, the deadline for submission is tomorrow, and we are 100 words above the limit. We need your help." And then the PhD goes and says, "Of course, I can handle this." Why am I joking? Because you know that the sense of humor, the playfulness also are very important in the development of maintaining a healthy brain. I will talk now about, we will start with the early beginning of our lives. So to maintain or to start with the healthiest possibility, we will think about a healthy mother and a healthy father. with health behaviors that maintain a routine of physical activity, good nutrition, genetic and epigenetic factors of the highest level, which means that they are from different communities and they are involved in a social cultural context. And at the beginning, you will see that before the pregnancy, the health status should be supplemented with folic acid, iron, and the importance of nutrition is really highlighted at this stage for the healthy development of the baby. There are some congenital infections that can harm brain development in utero. As you know, rubeola virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes, Zika, syphilis, malaria, and toxoplasmosis have really damaging effects on the brain. And then for a healthy start, also the prevention of diabetes, high blood pressure, alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs use should be not abolished. Depression, anxiety, and stress, pollution, metals and pesticides, and traumatic injuries. Providing optimal conditions from the beginning of life, starting with all the health behaviors, will have a positive impact in the development of a healthy brain. Many genetic factors have been found to be related to brain structure and to have impact on the domains of brain functioning. As an example, polymorphism or variations of genes related to brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a factor that is needed for neuronal growth and neuroplasticity, has been found to be linked to differences in cognition. Increased physical activity, on the other hand, has been shown to have neuroprotective and neuroplastic benefits for the brain later in life. You see that there are many metals that will affect brain development. There are some reports from the World Health Organization that talk about lead poisoning and the awful effects that it has in children, especially at the beginning of life, because these remain for the rest of lives. You cannot compensate the loss of IQ that happens with heavy metal poisoning during the early child ages. So moving forward, from the beginning of our lives to the early 2 years old, 3 years old, 5, 7, you see that a child brain creates over 1 million new neuronal connections each second in the first few years of life, which means that it's just like a rainbow of connections and experiences and discoveries during this stage. The World Health Organization, together with UNICEF and other partners, have developed or proposed the 100 days for a good start in life, and also the framework for childhood early development during childhood that was published in 2018 and contains a set of interventions that promote the best practices and evidence-based interventions for brain health. So you will see here that good health is very important. The adequate nutrition, the caregiving as a responsive caregiving, safety and security for the child development, and also the space to play to develop these neuronal connections as well. Many of the components of nurturing care continue to affect our brain as a child becomes an adolescent and grows into adulthood. And now I'm going to talk to you about the determinants of brain health across the life course. You see that we have here just a small summary of those determinants of brain health, which include physical health, healthy environments, safety and security, learning and social connection, and access to quality services. For physical health, we include maternal health, intrauterine environment, genetic and epigenetic factors, nutrition, as we mentioned before, health behaviors, protection from infections, self-care, non-communicable diseases and the prevalence that, that may be at the public health level and also in the individual level, and the protection of traumatic injuries. For a healthy environment, we will talk about safe use of chemicals, protection from radiation, healthy and safe workplaces and agricultural practices, safe food and sustainable food systems, air and water quality, access to preserved nature and health supportive built environments. For safety and security, physical safety, financial security, protection from humanitarian crises, emergencies, war, and preventable disasters, weapons or mine explosions. Also, for safety and security, alcoholism and avoid interpersonal violence, gender-based violence, pornography, and excess use of social media, or the protection of children from those. For learning and social connection, we talk about the nurturing care framework that was presented before, spaces for education, lifelong learning, social connection, and protection from social isolation, social networks, hobbies, music, theater, sports, cultural events, and jokes. Talking about access to quality services, integrated care at all health and social levels, person-centered care, to count with a skilled health workforce and interdisciplinary teams that take brain health into account in all the interventions that they provide in the healthcare on primary health services. The carer support for those people who are providing healthcare services, because they also need to be supported. Access to essential medicines, diagnostics, and health products. And also strong health information systems that are agile and provide or support health services. And in this slide, we are presenting the framework for health, for the brain health optimization. And this is a summary of what we were talking before. When we address brain health determinants, we will have effects that will impact the optimized brain structure and function. In the structure and functioning of the brain, which is what we are, the perspective that we are giving in this talk. This will have effects of enhanced well-being and also improved health, and of course, impact on social and economic benefits. The optimization of brain health impacts across all the domains: cognitive, sensory, social and emotional, behavioral and motor. It can lead to lower rates of mental health conditions and substance use. Interventions that address brain health determinants will have positive impacts on brain structure and function, as I mentioned, and in doing so, it can also benefit mental health. For example, positive family functioning and parenting have been found to lessen the impact of neighborhood disadvantage on brain development in adolescence, which may be protective for mental health. So for the parents who are watching this, it is very important to really pay attention to the children and the adolescents that they have at home, because the responsive caregiving will have effects in life. The brain can actually have an impact on physical health as well, because the brain plays a role in regulating cardiovascular, endocrinological, and immunological health. The brain also mediates our responses to stress and advertises initiating instinct responses to stress for preservation of life. In this table that we are not going to read, don't worry, I am presenting an exemplar of the intersectoral actions to address brain health determinants. This is an example for physical health, but the WHO's position paper on optimization of brain health has five tables thinking about each one of these 5 determinants that were presented before. For physical health, you see that we have health and social care sector interventions, education, legislature and governance, finance and economy, employment, infrastructure and urban planning, ecology, nature, and climate. So here we are thinking about interventions in a comprehensive way, policies, action plans, roadmaps that the governments, the municipalities, the universities, and many other players in the society can think about how to implement and improve these spaces for mental health. And why this is important? I am going to talk now about the Sustainable Development Goals and the commitments that member states did in 2015 to attain the highest level of health and well-being for the societies. And one of the targets is to, by the 2030, reduce by 1/3 premature mortality from non-communicable diseases through prevention and treatment, and promote mental health and well-being. And even though brain health is not mental health, this provides the optimal structure for an optimized mental and physical health. The indicators that are proposed under the Sustainable Development Goals are mortality rate attributed to cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, or chronic respiratory diseases, and this is measured and reported by the World Health Organization. And also suicide mortality rate, who is closely related to mental health. Now I have a quick exercise for those who are watching online and those who are here. We can try to do this activity. It's the coordination of our brain and body. So I want you to use your right hand to touch your head, and then use your left hand to touch your belly in circles. And do it at the same time. Touch your head and touch your belly. And it seems easy when you get used to it. But then if you change your hands, now with the left hand your belly and with your right hand your stomach. It's not easy, right? So you need some coordination. These little things that, this is a motor exercise in which we are moving our bodies, right? This also will show the level of concentration that we need to move to do some of these things. So this is just to maintain a healthy brain. Brain health is not a new topic, but you will see that the research in this has been increasing a lot during the last decade. And WHO is responding to the member states and has presented in 2013 already a comprehensive mental health action plan. And you can find all these documents online at WHO's webpage. As a consequence of this comprehensive plan, the member states sat down and discussed about targets to monitor the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases. And there was a very, very important formal meeting of the member states that included these indicators to set voluntary global targets for the prevention and treatment of NCDs. And this was also in 2013. Then in 2015, we have the Sustainable Development Goals that were agreed at the United Nations Assembly. And continuing with this work, in 2018, we have the resolution adopted by the General Assembly that includes a political declaration of the third high-level meeting of the General Assembly on the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases. All these political declarations and the work that is done is at the high level of the United Nations, and it's done through the governance of the member states, who are those who are represented there, vote, and give the priorities that they have for global health research agenda, planning, interventions. And you see, in 2018, we were already discussing that it's time to accelerate the response to address non-communicable diseases for health and well-being for this generation and the future generations. And it is very important when you think about what can be done for non-communicable diseases, because it needs and it requires a holistic approach of interventions. If you have a healthy environment in which people can be their best version and have healthy choices for their life, if you have safety to walk on the streets and practice physical activity for children, for example, if you have a good context at the schools. So all these things are relevant that you see at the ground, but it's reflected also here in the discussions that the UN General Assembly and the member states have at all the levels. In 2022, the 75th World Health Assembly proposed also the follow-up to this political declaration of the third high-level meeting of the General Assembly on the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases. And part of this document is the Intersectoral Global Action Plan on Epilepsy and Other Neurological Disorders from 2022 to 2023 to 2031. And as you see, this is a commitment from the member states. They discuss and propose these actions to do it at the global level and to improve the health of the people who live in these countries. Quickly, the vision of this intersect is to have a place where brain health is valued, promoted, and protected across the life course, where neurological disorders are prevented, diagnosed, and treated, and premature mortality and morbidity are avoided. And the people affected by neurological disorders and their carers attain the highest possible level of health with equal rights, opportunities, respect, and autonomy. The goal that is included in this document of this Intersectoral Global Action Plan is to reduce the stigma, impact, and burden of neurological disorders, including their associated mortality, morbidity, and disability, and to improve the quality of life of people with neurological disorders for their carers and families as well. And in order to achieve the vision, the goal defined above and the prevention, treatment of epilepsy and neurological disorders, this should be strengthened wherever it's possible, utilizing entry points and synergies to achieve the best results for all, mainly in the primary health care and other spaces. And the strategic objectives presented in this document include to raise policy prioritization and strengthen governance, to provide effective, timely, and responsive diagnosis, treatment, and care, to implement strategies for promotion and prevention, foster research and innovation, and strengthen information systems, and also strengthen the public health approach to epilepsy and neurological disorders. In the future, or in the present, there will be the 4th high-level meeting on the prevention of non-communicable diseases in September this year, where heads of states and governments will set a new vision to prevent and control NCDs towards 2030 and 2050 through a political declaration that will reiterate the commitments that were done before and will propose the space for impact and acceleration towards a better or reducing NCDs that are one of the biggest pandemics nowadays. Also, WHO has and works a lot with technical expert advisory groups in which they open calls, and you can find these open calls at WHO's website. To participate in these technical advisory groups, you have to apply. For the one related to brain health, mental health, and substance use, the call opened this started in 2022. The call opened in 2024. And there will be probably another call, so keep your eyes open if you are interested in participating. The process of application is there, and you can see who are members of these committees also online on WHO's webpage. The importance of this talk today is because I wanted to reach researchers like you who are watching this presentation, because you will see that brain health research has increased. This graph presents the cumulative effect, but you see that in the last 10 years, this has grown a lot. This is a topic where people really are interested. There is investment. So I hope that many of you get interested to work in brain health research. And what is needed? We would like to have epidemiological associations to understand cause-effect, large-scale studies, meta-analysis for specific determinants and the health outcomes that will come, basic research, intervention in the preventive and rehabilitation research, implementation, epidemiological, economic, and financial implications. Because you see that investment in building cognitive and brain capital is fundamental to keep modern societal challenges and to drive innovation, to think out of the box. I want to thank you all for your attention today, and I will pass back the floor to Professor Torres. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you, Diana, for this brilliant speech, and I hope some of you have been touched and involved with the all aspect of this speech, because it's something new but urgent for making all the positive aspects in that. I think we should thank the Institute of Estudos Avançados for playing us this opportunity. A Fundação de Amparo à Pesquisa do Estado de São Paulo, FAPESP, for providing grants with our research, and WHO for providing the Diana coming here and talking with us. I want to see if there are some questions about the speech. Can you help me out in that? Do we have any question? No? We don't have questions. But do you want to talk about something, Susanna? Well, I was wondering about the population. How do you think about this increasing in taxes of suicide, depression, anxiety? What do you think about we can do to mitigate or to diminish it, to put a brake on this acceleration of disease?
Yeah, you see that the non-communicable diseases are prevalent in all countries. Before 20 years ago, we used to think that this will be a problem of societies with higher income, and now we see that this affects all levels of population. Therefore, I think that interventions at the school level are very important, especially for teenagers, and also programs that promote interactions during any stage of life. I'm thinking, for example, because the perspective of this talk is from the Lifecourse, I presented the nurturing care framework for the stimulation of children that are very young. The responsive way that parents look at the child when the child is playing, the way that the food is presented to the child in which they can explore and discover. So these builds, and psychologists will know much better, this builds into a stronger infrastructure to respond to all the contextual adversities that we face during life. It's really impressive to see suicide rates in teenagers nowadays, and WHO is working in the protection of from different harmful practices or marketing practices as well through social media. So there is a lot to be done, and researchers that are participating in this talk and in the University of Sao Paulo and broader around the world, I think we are called to see what are the factors that interfere in the current problems of the society and propose solutions. So with a healthy brain, your body is a more stable. If you are part of a society that supports your development as well, if you are part of the academic or you are part of a sports group or you are part of a theater group, then you feel that you belong and you have a social, psychological support that you need in the important moments. So I think that it's not an individual factor. We have to work as a society to prevent mental health disorders and suicide or other non-communicable diseases.
Oh, thank you. And what about, do you think, diets that could play a crucial role on this prevention?
Yeah, diet is super important, and we haven't had the chance to expand on diet specifically on this talk but it's a world of information. So if you're interested to discover more about it, there are many groups that are studying the influence of food and food components into mental health and brain development and brain health. Your group of research is really leading on that area, and it's fascinating to read the publications that you have. It's an honor actually to be working with you today.
Oh, thank you. I like that. Well, we have some people here looking, and I want to know if someone also has some question. Feel free to make a question to Dr. Diana. Does someone want to ask her something? A quick question? Are you willing to make a question? No? Everybody's shy.
People are shy today.
People are shy today. What happened?
Yeah, so part of our talk in the healthy environment, we were talking about the urban planning as well. The urban planning, you have so many perspectives. For example, road traffic, injuries reduction, the use of helmets, because then you protect your brain from traumatic injuries. That's one area. Then the time that you spend in traffic. In Sao Paulo, this is a big issue because distances become much longer than they should be because of the number of cars that you have. So preventing all these stressful moments in life also support brain health. So for urban planning, as part of the healthy environment, the WHO's position paper has information and proposes some evidence-based interventions to improve those factors. Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Hi, Diana.
Hi.
Good morning. My name is Helena Tavares. I worked with Dr. Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us here. And I have a doubt regarding the social medias and the internet influences in the brain health, mainly in the adolescence and infancy. Do you have any studies and impact on the brain health development of this all stuff that we face with social medias, Instagram, TikTok, and all these external influences in the.
Yeah, this is an area that WHO also looks at, and there is the addictive behaviors branch of the mental health department. And there, as addictive behaviors, you have alcoholism, tobacco use, drug and substance abuse, and right now, gaming, gambling, because it's so easy if you are playing a little game in your phone to go to gambling applications. So all this we are looking at, and there is not enough research yet that we can say this is the best interventions, besides controlling the time that you have in the screen and maybe also limiting the number of pages that your children are accessing. But I really think that if researchers come with their studies and publish, I think that's very helpful for WHO. I presented one slide in which what is needed for brain health. So if you have information or research on epidemiological associations of cause-effect, large-scale studies, meta-analysis in which you will think or block for specific determinants and the health outcomes that we can have. Basic research is also needed, descriptive research, interventions for the prevention and rehabilitation. So there is a world to research in this area. Implementation and behavioral sciences as well, the epidemiological research. So I think that the University of Sao Paulo is very well positioned to really contribute to sciences. Because for WHO, when we are doing guidelines, we take some meta-analysis, and for that we really need evidence around the world. to see this is an effective intervention. This will have consequences in the longer term. I also included here because sometimes in the health sector we forget to do economical and financial analysis. So in brain health, it's so evident, and there is, especially for the younger children, development before 5 years of age, there are some research data that show the financial implications, the investment that you do at the school in a program, and the longer term outcomes that you have. So there is a world of research space, yeah, and I hope that you can contribute to that as well.
Hi, morning. I'm Susana Lanes from School of Pharmaceutical Sciences of University of São Paulo. I would like to know if World Health Organization has some study or a program, special program for people from regions of war.
We have different interventions depending on the country context. WHO is not an implementation agency. We are more at the guideline development and norms and standards development. But of course, at the country offices, we will respond to the country needs. There are offices responding in war areas and conflict areas. There are programs and protocols to respond to emergencies. And there is a specific branch of WHO, the World Health Emergencies Cluster, that responds to that. And mental health is also considered as part of the response that WHO gives. I think some of the parts is providing water, safe water and sanitation facilities, and mental health care, not only for the population that is affected during these situations, but also to the professionals that are working there. And WHO has been very vocal for respecting or protecting health workforce in conflicting areas.
Thank you.
Hi, Diana. I'm Ana Carolina, and I have done my master and PhD at public health at School of Public Health University, and now I'm currently working on a project to work on food insecurity, the relationship between food insecurity between parents and children. So we're applying the EBIA, the Brazilian scale for food insecurity, and we are comparing this data to see if the responses, there are several studies, international but not national studies that have done that with the similar scale from the United States that has compared between parents and adolescents to see if they have the same experience on food insecurity. And we are going to link this with the adolescents' mental health indicators, because the lack of resources on food and all this stuff, and that can impact on mental health of the students. So we're doing that research, and I would like to know if there are some studies or reports that we are doing on the whole at the World Health Organization, if we're doing some reports on that scenario.
Yeah, for food insecurity, we have the state of food insecurity and nutrition in the world that is published every year in collaboration with FAO and the World Food Programme. And this is a report that shows nutrition indicators and the food insecurity indicators. It's really important, and it will be a great contribution to have the information from Brazil, because we build on models with the data that countries provide. And that's why every year the estimates of food insecurity may change, because we will consider the data quality to include the data in the world estimates. However, I was, and maybe for your research, it's really interesting because I have seen that in these times, people are becoming more worried for not having money or not having access to technology, to a phone device, than worrying about not having food. So this is a shift in the mentality that I still don't understand, and hopefully part of your research will respond to these questions that come in a new era of the world.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
But one thing that I noticed, that food insecurity, but that food insecurity, it's an aspect, it's a social economic aspect, but it's not only economic, because other things in the other aspects can influence. For example, the changes on the environment, environmental changes, wars, and all those stuffs can influence on the way, on the resources to get food. For example, if there is a drought or there is a rain or there is a war, this can influence in the impact. It's not only, and that of course will influence on the financial resources to get food.
And
so
here,
it's not only black and white.
yeah, exactly. And here in Brazil, you had a few years ago this disaster in Rio Grande do Sul, right? The implications is thinking about food security, right? You may have more information on this, but it was devastating, not only the economic impact and the losses of businesses and the losses of lives, but how can the country be prepared and respond to an emergency of this degree with food supplies and the adequate food supplies? Because if you have somebody with diabetes and the government gives, I don't know, cake to the people, it doesn't make much sense.
So you have to play with the foods, what to do in a healthy, and on how to play with the foods and the food choices to do that, to place on their reality. If they have only industrialized foods, okay to eat, but you have to choose from the better options for them. Not only think, oh, in natura foods or that they plant or go all this stuff, because it doesn't make sense for them. So I have to play on the smart food choices. That's what I think.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, does someone else has any question? You wanna talk about something related to the subject? Okay. So do you wanna speak?
Yeah, we were talking before starting the talk with Dr. Susana about this new market about food supplements and the effects on brain health as well. Magnesium, zinc, vitamins. This is a whole spectrum also of research that I think it's fascinating because we still cannot associate directly some of the components, but some we already have enough evidence to say this is safe to use and will have effects on your brain health, or at least in your mood, stabilizing your mood. So this is also an area that opens lots of doors for researchers in pharmaceutical areas, in technical areas, beyond food as what we think as natural food, to the supplementation and much more. Folic acid, for example, has been proven to have effects in neurocongenital diseases. So this type of interventions are also fascinating to learn about and to explore where are gaps in the evidence that we can still investigate.
Yeah, that's true. We are been working with the supplements for brain health, and it's a kind of interesting aspect that it has increased a lot. It used to be like 2 or 3 supplements, and nowadays you have the whole area of a pharmacy, for a drugstore, for display. They are displayed there for many of them.
Yeah.
They are saying that they can give some protection or treating. In fact, it must be studied. Yeah.
Yeah, we studied omega-3, for example, and the effects that it has on brain and the epigenetic effects as well. So I think if we want to promote research, this is a good space to start. Let's say to continue to grow.
Yeah, we hope she can stay for the PhD because she's finished her master. Yeah, it's a nice area. Okay. Well, I think we are coming to the end, and I want to thank you, Diana, for being so kind with us, with our group at ER, and the audience that could come and learn with us something, and also we can exchange. And the audience that are online also that could come and prestigiate our workshop. Thank you so much, and I hope we can have more kind of speech like that in the area. Coming soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.